at the hospital. In the emergency room, a team of medical staff springs into action, working desperately to stabilize the motorcyclist. It's an all-hands-on-deck operation as doctors and nurses coordinate in tense silence, faces lined with concentration. After 9 long hours of surgery, Samantha sits alone in the hospital waiting room, her head in her hands, tears streaming down her face. A doctor approaches quietly, placing a hand on her shoulder. "We've done everything we can," he says softly. "All his vitals are stable, but he's in a coma. If it weren't for the steel plate in his skull, we'd be having a different conversation." He was coming back from the army hospital, recovering from a landmine explosion in Iraq. He lost 10% of his skull, and that's why they had to put the plate in. Samantha's voice is barely a whisper as she replies. 4 months later, the hospital halls are quieter now. In a small office, Samantha sits across from the doctor, who reviews a chart with a somber expression. "Doctor, there's only 20% brain activity. At this point, we believe the best course of action is to consider removing him from life support." Samantha's grief hardens into resolve. "No, not without my permission." Reaching into her bag, she pulls out a folder and slides it across the table. Her lawyer, standing behind her, hands the hospital an official document. "The hospital can't take him off life support unless I authorize it," she says, her voice unwavering. The sterile, quiet hum of the hospital fills the room. 2 long years have passed since the accident, but today feels different. Samantha sits by John's bedside, her hand clutching his as she has done for months. The machine beeps steadily, monitoring his every breath and heartbeat. She waits for the doctor. A soft knock on the door draws her attention. The doctor steps in, carrying a clipboard, his face showing something she hasn't seen in a long time: hope. "There's been some remarkable progress," he begins, sitting across from her. "We've noticed significant improvements in John's brain function. His brain activity has increased by nearly 20%, and his reflexes are becoming more responsive." Samantha's heart races, disbelief washing over her. "Are you saying he's waking up?" she asks, her voice trembling. The doctor smiles gently. "It's too early to say for sure, but it's a promising sign. His brain is reconnecting. There's movement, responsiveness, even moments when his eyes seem to flutter." Tears fill Samantha's eyes, a mixture of hope and fear swirling inside her. "So, he could come back to me?" she asks, barely daring to believe it. The doctor nods cautiously. "There's a possibility. He's showing real signs of recovery, but we must be patient. The brain heals slowly, and we can't know how much he'll regain, or when. But for the first time, we have real hope." Samantha looks at John, his chest rising and falling steadily. She squeezes his hand tighter. "I've waited this long," she whispers. "I'll wait as long as it takes," the wife mumbles to herself.